Did you just get a camera or you already have one? You clicked on this video, so that tells me that you want to use it to its full potential. That's step one complete. You want to learn. One key variable in photography is shutter speed, as it's going to make images that auto mode would never be able to do. Of course, aperture and ISO are as important as shutter speed, but let's focus on shutter speed in this video. You might already know that shutter speed is going to adjust two things in your image: the brightness of your image, and will either freeze the motion or blur the motion. You'll be able to learn more about motion blur in one of my next videos. When you adjust the shutter speed, you are basically changing how fast the shutter of the camera will fire, so something like that. That means how long the shutter will be open before it closes and stops light from entering and hitting the sensor. The shutter button is actually the button that triggers that shutter motion, and you press it all the time, whether it be on a camera or on a smartphone. There are two different terms we use when referring to the time the shutter is open. We can call it a slow shutter speed or a fast shutter speed. When talking about a slow shutter speed, you are most likely going to say that it will be open for an extended period of time. That's correct. The sensor will be hit with light for a longer time and will create an image with motion blur. Of course, only if there is motion. You are able to create a sense of speed when the objects you are shooting are in movement. For instance, look at these images. What do you see at first sight? You see an image with frozen motion, meaning that it was taken with a fast shutter speed. And on the other hand, you see an image that shows motion blur that was taken with a slow shutter speed. See, it isn't that difficult to understand. But what if I want to shoot portraits and I don't care about motion blur? Well, that's when fast shutter speeds come in. Look, this chart shows the different ranges for shutter speed. On the left, you have slow shutter speeds, but they can go much lower than that, especially when shooting at night. On the right, you have fast shutter speeds that are used to freeze motion. The longest shutter speed you can have on your DSLR is about 30 seconds, and it can go to as fast as 1/8,000th of a second. Now that's fast. Of course, more professional cameras are able to go even beyond that. Now that you understand the concept of motion while controlling shutter speed, we have to look at the other aspect. How does shutter speed affect exposure? Exposure is basically the brightness of an image, and you might already know how the shutter speed affects it. When the shutter speed is fast, the shutter closes fast, therefore less light enters and the image is less exposed. Naturally, as the shutter speed is slower, the shutter is open for a longer period of time, making an image that is more exposed. But keep in mind that shutter speed is not the only variable you have to change when creating a perfectly exposed image. Now, more about the exposure triangle in this video up here, you can click. So, you also need to take into account ISO and aperture, but more about those two in my next video. Keep in mind that the slower the shutter speed, the more stable your camera will have to be. Since the shutter is open for a long period of time, it will capture all the motion you create, even when shaking the camera. And if you move too much, your image will become blurred. Therefore, I recommend that you use a tripod as soon as you dig into the very slow shutter speeds. For general photography like landscape, portrait, or a family photo, you don't really want to use a slow shutter speed unless you want to create some motion in your image, but you would much rather use something faster. However, capturing pictures of a busy street might be more interesting when using a slow shutter speed. Go on and test this for yourself. You can do that either by going to shutter priority mode or full manual mode if you feel confident. Shutter priority mode, or TV on your camera, will let you focus on the shutter speed while the camera does the rest for you. Turn the wheel when you have a DSLR until you find the mode TV and play around with it. Of course, this will vary based on each camera what the name of it will be. Of course, if you have any other questions, then please don't hesitate to ask them in the comments down below. Well, I hope that you learned something new today, and if you did, then please leave a like and subscribe, as it helps me out tremendously. And if you want to see more videos like this, then do that especially. Also, please don't forget to watch my previous video that will be shown in the corner up here. Alright, take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!